As always, one important note: this is not financial advice. Do your own scouting or hire a director of Metaverse Football. All right, Jimbo, who's joining us for this episode?
We've got another guest who's returning onto the podcast. You might recognise the voice when he speaks in a bit after we've introed him. He came on episode 9 to talk about all about club branding, and now we're going to do a proper Meet the Mogul. It is none other than Duff. Welcome. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. I have a cold. I'm not sure if I can blame you for having passed it through the podcast, but I'm double fisting a glass of liquid IV and coffee here, so we're doing good on a Sunday afternoon.
Liquid IV. What does the IV stand for?
It's like electrolytes. It's new fancy branded electrolytes.
Oh, okay.
I think it's mostly for people who are hungover, but I have 2 kids and I haven't been hungover for a good reason in a long time.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I've got a big mug of what's called in the UK Lemsip, and it's basically sort of like paracetamol, ibuprofen, and a few other bits and pieces, but in powder form, and you whack it in a drink. So that's
Yep.
that's what I'm going with. I'm hoping that it sorts me out for the week coming up.
Yeah, you have to stay healthy for the fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Exactly. Need my
All right,
veggies.
so two people who are not in perfect condition, but we'll pull through, right? Enough to talk about. So it will be a great episode. I think before we dive into the updates and meet our Mogul Duff, we have to talk about some announcements, some things happening. So first of all, the Flovatar and MFL cooperation collab. And are you guys doing the quests? Did you check out Flovatar a bit more?
I've not done any of the quests. I've checked out Flovatar a bit because I realize I have a Sport Vitar or something along those lines, but that's not.
Yeah, me too.
That's not. Cause I think I won that off the back of a quest thing or something previous. Maybe the World Cup or something along those lines. But I wasn't. That's not being included, so I might have to try and pick myself up a Flovatar to take part in the competition because I don't want to not have. On my historical competitions that Wyverns performed in, I want to have that Dust Cup on there as a historical record. But yeah.
Yeah, no. So I got a Flovatar and I checked out the project because now I can participate in the Dust Cup. So when you own a club and you own a Flovatar, you can take part in the club. And actually, if you want to find out more about Flovatar, there will be an AMA actually today, right? When this episode comes out.
Yeah,
it's literally
when this episode comes out,
like
you probably listen to this, and we'll use it actually as a reminder to get yourself into the AMA.
Yes.
Happening.
You have like half an hour left or an hour left probably to get into the AMA when this gets out.
Yeah, maybe an hour and a half. Yeah, something like that.
Yes. So hopefully when you listen to that AMA, you know also a bit more about Flovatar and about the Dust Cup, because that's the name. And also, probably in the next episode of the Wendurcast, we're going to talk to someone from Flovatar about it and do a little crossover there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, stay tuned for that and do the quests. Always fun to do quests. Maybe check out Flovatar and hopefully you can also participate in the Dust Cup then. So next week, more about that. What about you, Duff? You have a Flovatar? Are you gonna take part in the Dust Cup?
I am similar to Jimbo, where I've got a sport guitar that I think I won through one of the previous collaborations, and I was hoping that would work, but it looks like we need to get a Flovatar to compete. I was looking at, I think, the Gaia Marketplace to pick one up, and I think they're around the floor might be 100 or so. So I have to kind of look at a little bit more, learn about the project. The nice thing is that if you look at the Flovatar there's 2 quest boards. So we've got one for MFL, which I think we're all pretty familiar with through Zeely, and the Flovatar one has a lot of quests, and it's mostly about learning more about the project. So I think for the folks who are interested in participating um, and who want to learn more and participate in those quests, it seems like there's a lot of ways to get points, and that should be a pretty good job or a pretty good way to get. I think there might be a Flovatar that you can win through the Zeely quest and some other I think they're called flow bits, which are used to upgrade your flow guitars. There's a lot of cool prizes out there and ways to learn about the project. And it's interesting to see just the kind of cross pollination between these 2 projects. And I've already seen through the Discord at least 2 people, I think, from Flovatar have come
Yeah.
in and joined. So hopefully that love is being shared both ways, which would lead to future collaborations.
Yeah, it's really nice that we've got this collaboration, and hopefully we get sort of more in the future, maybe some of these exclusive cups. So if you've not already picked up a Flovatar and you want to know a bit more about it, like Duff said, you can go check out some of the quests. If not, we've got the AMA happening in a few hours' time. We can call it that now. But also, the registration closes on the 2nd of March. So just bear that in mind, because the tournament kicks off on the 4th of March. So you'll have about, 5-6 days after this podcast release. So hopefully by then you can do some more research, pick up Flovatar, and get yourself registered for that cup.
Yes, exactly. So,
Is it I think it's capped. Sorry to hop in,
800.
but I think is it capped at 800?
Yeah, 800,
Yes.
no fatigue, yeah.
So 800.
Juicy.
I think most people will definitely have something below, or you have another lower club.
The Wyverns benefit from that, because I don't get romped. It's a good cap for me.
All right, so before we're going to discuss tactics and transfers and everything else with Duff, getting to know him a bit better as a Mogul, it's time now for the updates. So as always, we start off with the personal journey. And as last week's episode was recorded 2 weeks ago, we can do kind of maybe a little bit bigger update, like what happened to us in season 0.4 so far in the past 2 weeks. So, Jimbo, how was, let's say, the first half, I would say, of the league, of the competition?
Slightly underwhelming for a personal note from the Wyverns, but probably expected because I'm nowhere near one of the top sides in terms of just overall. Obviously, we know that's not the be end and whatever it is, be all end all. But I'm currently sitting 5th, which I'm kind of happy about because the 4 teams above me are all the teams that are stronger than me. So I'm like, I'll take that. But there's definitely room for me to sneak up into maybe the top 3. I'm currently on 17 points and top is 23, or joint top is 23. Technically, it's only 2 wins away. And I've got to play 3 of that top 4 again. And yesterday I beat one of that top 3. I beat 3rd. So usually we see we're quite a slow start. A bit like Man City. Once we get past the halfway point and we figure out what we're actually doing, we start romping games. I'll say that now. I'll probably lose every single one from here. But then my second club, which is their inaugural league competition in Stone, they're currently rocking 7th. But I'm in a league where a couple of Stone clubs are potentially bronze clubs, and I've got like half a team of low 60s, and I'm just getting romped. But I'm happy with that. I don't mind that. It's about the learning curve. I like that. I'm sort of in. It puts more emphasis on the tactical side to it, and seeing how I can make difference to the team instructions, knowing that I can't just win a game purely by overall and fatigue. Let's see what I can do with team instructions. So that's sort of how my first and part of my second half's been. It's been as expected. I've not been disappointed, but there's room for improvement.
Nice. What about you, Duff, with, your whole... How many clubs now? 16 still? Right? Or...
Oh, we're up to 17.
17?
We're up to 17.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whoop.
We had I was lucky enough to get a Stone license in New York, so I couldn't pass that up. That's a club that hopefully we can promote. But that was one that is a newly added one for season not point 4, should I always say. If you had interviewed me a week ago, I would have been a lot happier. My Platinum Club Hollywood MFC had a really big week. I was in second place, and we had a big matchup with Toros de Madrid, and we just lost all 3. We had 3 close matches. The first 2 I actually won XG. The third one I did not. And we're now in 6th from second. And Toros really pulled away as well. They went from just having a small lead, and now they're at the top with 27 points. And second is the North London Novas with 18. So they ran away and kind of hid this week, and my club just had a precipitous fall. But on the positive side, my Silver Club in Quito scored a goal yesterday, which broke a 7-game streak of them being shut out. So
yeah, I love that.
Progress there. We're hanging on top of Silver 5 by our absolute fingernails. And if you look at that group, it's really, really tightly spread. A lot of quality clubs, Gaffers in there, Ronan's in there, Sturgeonator, and I'm in the top right now with 20 points, and at 8th place is 15. So we are very tightly grouped there, and hopefully we'll score more than.
That's usually a good place to start. Score at least one, isn't it? So
You have to score.
It's the plan.
Yeah, I think we are together with the Ambato Iguanas, right? In gold. With my team, the Corsairs, they had a terrible, terrible start. I think we lost I don't know, 5 out of our first 6 games. So that was really... I've never had such a bad start with them. But I... Actually, Jimbo, I listened to you. Let me explain that. Because
I hope you do.
I resisted this urge to immediately after 2 losses, change everything up. I was like, no, we have to stick to that a little bit more consistency, give it a shot, 5-6 games. And then I lost 5 and drew 1. I was like, yeah, now I need to change it up.
Yeah.
I changed it up, and now I have not been beaten in the past 6 games. So from losing, so that worked out, and now I'm consistent with the change, and I'll just stick to that. I think until the end of the season. We won twice, 2 extra points, so hopefully we can still get into that 5-6 spot, let's say.
Yeah.
Same with Black Sea. I was also very unlucky, a lot of draws, and didn't do well. Changed a little thing up, and the victories started coming. So I think that's a good tip. First, really see, is this part of tactics or bad luck? If it's really something tactics, then change something up and see if that works. So that's doing well, and also my Corsair Cove team, which I'm playing 5-2-3 with those wingbacks, and I really kind of rebuild that team, and they're doing very good, and they're topping that Iron League, so I'm very happy with that progress. So
wingbacks,
things are looking good for me.
A couple of wingbacks getting involved. How you
5-2-3 wing.
Yeah, how are you finding that? Because I think I don't think I've played against anyone who's used wingbacks in any of my games. It's going all right?
It was more they're the first topping the league, so it's going very well.
Are you conceding a lot? Is it sort of 1-0s, 2-0s, or is it? Would you say defensively stronger or just better offense? Well, I don't know.
It's hard to say. I think offensively also pretty strong, scoring quite a lot against fatigue side or a little bit weaker sides. But it's more of a practical choice because with the positional familiarity, these wingbacks, some wingbacks, they were in a primary position and they were pretty useless in most formation. So I decided to do one team as a dedicated wingback team.
Well, you might as well use them if they're there and you get ahead of the curve. Maybe that might be the meta at some point, using wingbacks, and you'll be the man everyone looks up to and you'll be stomping ahead for a season and a half or so. Yeah,
Let's see if they can get the cup. So I think, Duff, the Little Big City is also your team, right?
Yeah, we're staring up at the top of it. We just had a pretty tight draw yesterday. Lurking in third place with 20 points.
yeah. So it will be. There's an interesting Iron League also to see who will be on top there. So to be continued. Dev updates. Shall I do it, Jimbo, or do you want to
go for it,
your
mate?
Voice?
Go for it. Yeah. Go for it. I've got to look after it for Splash of the Week. You see.
Yes, you have to save everything for Splash of the Week. That's correct. So, dev updates. First thing about the internationalization of the app, so adding more languages to it. French is ready to go, and this will be released early next week, so in the coming days. So that's great that the whole game app is also available fully in French now. Hopefully this will attract more French users. Also, Product Tour app, so for new users, is also ready to go. And will be implemented with the French translation this week. The team has been working on player progression. Matt and Quentin have worked on it. We worked some of, let's say, the model, how they're going to do that, and globally determined the speed of progression, so how fast players can progress. About the new engine, so Quentin is working on a new engine that will be released probably for the next season. He fixed a free kick bug, reduced some probability of weird backward passes. What's very interesting for me is a celebration animation. I'll ask you guys later what that might be. Also improved some running distance, so defenders walking less sometimes. Then JC worked on the current engine. There was some feedback that when there's a red card in a game, sometimes even that team is a bit stronger, or it seemed not logical what was happening in those games. And he will share his findings soon and start working on that. And then the final thing is that They validated some of these extended player stats. Soon we'll have more stats in each player profile. And also they worked on the UI for that. So this will be employed with the player ratings in the next major release of the engine. You okay, Jimbo? Or
Yeah, sorry, little sneeze there.
sneezing?
Yeah, I was just sneeze.
I thought you were laughing at me.
No, I wasn't laughing. No, I wasn't laughing. No, not at all. Some big dev updates there.
Yeah. I want to ask you what you guys think is the most interesting thing, or what do you think about the celebration animation? Is that a suggestion that there might be some 2D things, or you just see you guys running away?
I think the background and the reasoning why it's been implemented. I think Duff, you might have shared this screenshot, or might be someone who's talked about this in the Discord about. Sometimes you'll get a game where there's a goal in the 20th minute, 21st, and the 22nd minute, and realistically, the chances of that happening are pretty slim. When for about a minute of that, you've probably got all 11 players celebrating when they've scored, right? So I think it's trying to not make those events happen as much. But in terms of say like a 2D aspect, I imagine they just like run to the corner flag, or all the dots huddle together or something like that, or maybe I don't know, maybe they get bigger and smaller to say they're jumping up and down, like how the ball gets bigger and smaller when it's up in the air and such. But I'm looking forward. Maybe you can customize some NFT drop of celebrations, run to the corner flag, maybe do an Adebayor and run to the away fans. I think celebration.
This thing does suggest that there is some 2D coming, because otherwise, why would you work on it? We cannot even see it. Otherwise, right? You just have like a little time gap, so it's not back-to-back goals anymore, right? So it's suggestive.
Maybe it could be a way for us to get a quick sneak peek into what the 2D could look like, because maybe when a goal's scored, they all appear on the screen for like 3 seconds to celebrate. Maybe it's, maybe. I don't know. That seems really far-fetched. I don't think that'll happen, but, we never know. We never know with this dev team. They just pop with lots of surprises.
Duff, are you excited about anything in the dev updates, like you're looking forward to, or from this?
I think the celebration thing is interesting. I hope it doesn't shorten the game. I know it is strange sometimes when goals are scored within a short period of time. Weird stuff happens, in sports sometimes. I remember watching. I watch a lot of late night West Coast soccer on. Oops, sorry, Jimbo. On my screen after the kids.
First strike.
Yeah. So there's a team that's the USL team in Oakland is the Oakland Roots, and I was watching some game where they were up 2-0, and they were playing. I think it was San Antonio, and San Antonio scored the game in extra time. They scored and equalized in extra time, almost immediately, bang. And it's stuck out. I guess that shouldn't happen that frequently, but it does. So I'll be interested to see how much of a pause after the goal gets built in. It would be a little concerning if we're actually shortening the game. If that pause is 30 seconds in play, after every goal, you're really shortening our games a bit. But I do think that if I get to see my little dots run off to a corner, I'll get extremely excited, and that will override my anxiety about it.
Yes.
So I think people are just going to get seeing their things running around. The main thing I'm looking forward is probably not going to be until next season, and that's the new shooting mechanics.
Yes, that would be really cool.
I think a lot of people
are. In general, I think
every time they drop the all 22, every time they drop the all 22, because I think we got some highlights or sneak peeks of those. It's always really exciting. Everybody loves seeing those as well, including the unfortunate own goal for that person as well.
Yeah, it sounds like on that last point where it says about the UI and stuff, it says that'll all be implemented in the player rating the next major release of the engine. So maybe that's sort of when that next release does. It's not just a big update to the engine with like 1 or 2 features. Maybe it's 3 or 4 or 5 bits all packaged together and pushed at once. Because I've maybe thought that play ratings might just get implemented and dropped on a Friday morning when Yax wakes up, but it sounds like maybe it's going to be like in a big update instead, which would be quite nice. Maybe it'd be quite a lot to unpack one Friday, we imagine.
Yeah, I do wonder about I wonder about the timing of that next big update, because I think at a certain point we've gone through enough of the season where if they introduce something, and with the IMF Cup, the IMFF Cup in play, I don't think they want to change the engine too much the way things are in flight. But to me, it might be interesting to do it before the end of the season tournament as a sneak preview for what people can expect in
Yeah.
the next alpha season. I wouldn't hate that. I think that would be a good time for it. But the longer we go, I don't think we want any of these races that have been competed under one set of rules to then change dramatically towards the next. But I wonder when do you think
Yeah.
we'll see that
I
next big engine?
I mean, you say that, and I do agree. I don't think it comes mid-season, but last season, midway through, they did change. They did release that big update during the season, didn't they? Which is all about like the win percentages and things like that, which you could probably argue is a big update that they pushed. So I don't think they do it mid-season, mid-competitive league maybe, or they don't do it mid-league. However, I think it happens before the end of the season, and that's probably a really cop-out answer. But I think it's not post-season.
But yeah, you cannot just release such a. They say it's like a major release, right? It's like a really big engine thing. So you cannot just drop that mid-season. People will go crazy, right? It's like unfair for the competition, probably.
The other argument to that is we are in alpha seasons, and that's what the whole point is. You can't just drop things, so we've got to be prepared. And it's not a finished product where you have to schedule and announce big updates. You can, with a little bit of announcement, drop it. It's one of those. You can argue it both ways. I think.
Of course. All right. Well, we'll have to see. Let's move on to marketplace updates. I think
season update, mate.
Oh yeah,
Diamond League
updates. Yes.
We can't just skip over the fact that my prediction is currently joint top. You can't just skip over that.
Wait, is it also my prediction? Joint top, kind of. What was your prediction?
I know. Mine was Dio's Milano. Yeah. I said Milano. Meta Mercenaries Ballers. Mm-hmm. And I'm currently 1, 3, and 4. So
I wanted to say, I said, I think Meta, Dio, Londinium, and they are all in the top 3, but in the wrong order. For my prediction. So my prediction is going well. Your prediction is also going pretty well. But yeah, so how's it going? Let's do a little recap. Dio and Londinium are both in first place, but Dio has a better goal difference with only 1 goal. So he's first place, Londinium second, and then the Meta Mercenaries and Ballers. But all of those teams are within 2 points. So it's very tight at the top, very close race. And then you have a couple, the other 4, they're a bit more trailing. So Basel, Parque Ibirapuera, Club Atletico Tango, and OM Legends. So pretty interesting Diamond League.
Yeah, and we're only in coming up to the 9th match day as well. So we've literally just hit the halfway mark for this Diamond League as well. So they've all got to play each other at least one more time, apart from they've just had 1 game of that. But yeah. Exciting stuff for the next 7 games of the 6. I can't do maths. 6 games a season for them.
Yes, yeah, it will be really, really interesting. And so I said I think Meta will win, but I hope that someone else will win. It will be healthy for the competition, not to have some kind of Bayern Munich, right?
Yeah.
Winning everything.
Yeah,
although now with Kane, they also cannot win, of course. So it's like the curse continues for Kane.
Yep.
There. Duff, what are your thoughts? Diamond League thoughts?
It's tough at the top. Those teams are so competitive. See how they're improving from the players they're adding. It's almost like they're maxing out. It'll be really interesting. Number one, to see more teams get populated in that division. But then also as our seasons progress. These are going to be the teams that continue to compete against each other, so it's going to be great to see those rivalries form, and then just how the different bets they've made on player development. Of these real superstars, who of those players have that much more development room to grow, and how is that going to impact things moving forward? It's going to be really fun to watch. And certainly there's a lot of aggression in a good way, being shown by the teams to acquire that talent. And I wonder if they see someone who's not going to maybe develop as expected, if they start trading that around. Because no one is shy about making moves in that division. It's really great.
Yes, it's really fun to watch, and definitely a bit more engaging now also. And I agree, yeah, we talked about this before, Jimbo, and that it would be cool to add a couple more teams, or to have like a full Diamond League 12 teams, right?
Yeah, I think in our MFL resolutions,
nice.
I think I definitely said I'd like to see at least 10 teams signed up, or at least 11 signed up for a competitive season some point this year. So hopefully we get that. But at the moment, we've regressed a bit.
I think when that happens, we're going to see, I guess it's not a trickle down, maybe it's a trickle up effect, where teams that have right now, because we've got reduced rewards, you can have higher quality players in lower division for fun, or to try different things out.
Yeah.
Once you've got 4 more established Diamond League teams that are probably looking to fill out 20 to 25 man rosters, that's going to be very interesting in how it pulls talent upwards that division and what the effect is going to be on the rest.
Yeah, I do wonder you probably see a lot of the legendaries from below the Platinum League get pulled into those teams because they can probably get rewarded for them. Because the chances are, Dio, Ronan, Eric, all those big Diamond players aren't going to just happily give away their big players to other Diamond competitors. So we'll probably see some of those legendaries, not talking to you, Taggart, definitely not shouting at you, legendary players get swooped up maybe with some attractive contract offers up to the Diamond League for sure. Interesting when that happens.
Yes, we have to see. All right, now Marketplace after the season update. So we already mentioned this, but we've seen some new active managers coming from Flovatar. For example, Special Agent. I think I should pronounce it like this, although there's numbers everywhere in his name. He bought loads of uncommons and also a Stone Club, which each new manager can buy. I also saw Dutch Brett. Interesting to meet him. Maybe another Dutch guy after Dio and me in the game. Also from Flovatar.
Does Brat mean something different in Dutch? Would you use that word?
No.
Brat. Okay.
Brat,
I just
Dutch Brat.
yeah.
I think it just no, it doesn't mean anything. So
Okay.
it's pure English. So apparently he's a Brat. And Mamat BRS I also saw. New person, Stone Club and players. So yeah, nice to see those new people coming in.
I've also got one other one I saw as well. This morning there was these special agents, but there's a guy called Fed as well, which I think is quite neat that you've got special agents and you've got Fed.
The Fed.
Like we're gonna get suddenly like the MI5 will be the next user drop back in, or CIA.
We did mention him a couple episodes back.
Okay.
But it's funny, yeah, with the Fed and the special agent, so they're all being present. Active managers, Lam Web3 keeps buying. You always see his name every day in the sales bot and then announced on Twitter. Shout out to him. Also for Blender or Bountiful, those 2 names. Loads of clubs again. I think Duffy is competing with you for most clubs award. And also a lot of players he bought, and Spice Weasel, new club players. So active managers. And one very interesting trade before we go to the splash of the week. Huge trade, yeah. One of a massive trade is that Arlindo Terto, so the Brazilian super striker, moved from Unity to Profound Soda to FC Cincinnati, and Unity got a non-MFL NFT for that. We don't know what it is, but
I'd love to know what that is.
Could be anything. Maybe one Flovatar. Could be. So that's a massive trade. So Terto is now Parque Ibirapuera. That's also nice. Brazilian team. Right? No, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a team, yes. Okay, Jimbo, your voice. Let's go.
Splash of the week. Well, technically it's splashes because we've not been here for 2 weeks. So the Airtable is still not working. So Calvin has done his utmost best to basically trowel through, or maybe at the time screenshot some of these purchases. So if some of them are wrong, you can blame both of us, but also tell Yax to update the Airtable so we can actually filter it properly and look back at it. But we'll go the top 3. Position number 3 last 2 weeks. Guitarero, $350. Marin Apatry. Butchered that. Romanian, 85 rated player. Lovely stuff. And then in second, we've got Flosi, $550 for an Argentinian right back, Ezequiel Marcial. I think that one was pretty good. 84 rated player, 17-year-old, young player. And then this fortnight's this fortnight's splash of the week goes to Lopez, dropping $850 for a 90 rated player in Peter Schreurs. Peter Schreurs.
I should pronounce this, I think, because it's like Dutch. So, Peter Schreurs.
There we go. Belgium CDM 90 rated for 850 United States of American dollars. So some big purchases
that's a big
coming
splash.
in the last week. Yeah, big splash. We call that like
That's
a big splash. Big splash.
Massive splash.
So that's this fortnight's splash of the week.
Awesome.
Bosh.
Oh yeah, Duff. So by the way, about the club. So do you feel now that Verblender is competing with you for most clubs, or you don't feel like that? That you're being challenged.
I think it's interesting because we've seen some other ones. I think Dio has scaled down. It's kind of a lifestyle. Once you hit a certain number of clubs, it's great to see. I mean, the main thing is these clubs are being like well looked after and are active. I also did think a purchase was interesting, which was recent. Spice Weasel bought the Dallas Bronze for 200.
200, yes, yeah.
Yeah, which is interesting because people have different theories on, do you just want to have a license and then, my brand makes the location, or are you particular about which locations you choose? And I think there are probably a few things related to that license where there's not a, it's a U.S. license, and it's in a big sporting city, in a very populous state. And there's not a lot of them in the same way that some other clubs or other cities do have a number of them. Our beloved Quito has a number of clubs. Other locations in Spain, I think, have a number. Certainly, a lot of Madrid clubs. Not a lot of ones in Dallas. So it's interesting though to see how the location impacts the price of a bronze club, because you can get a silver club for $200. But I think that's good to see because it shows that the location does matter to people. It may be that's just a factor of location plus scarcity plus what those locations are, and maybe it's not broadly applied, but I do think it shows that where those are does matter, and which I think is good to the aspect of how we've got the club situated.
Yeah, definitely. But I think you can really see that, like, certain locations they have. For example, USA, Citizen USA, I think they sell for way more than like a random Saudi Arabian club, right? Or London, or Barcelona, or Rome, or and Quito, of course, yeah. So, but it's nice to see indeed that he wants to invest that in $200 for bronze. But you have then Dallas, you have this license where he's from, I think, or at least the state. So that's really cool. So yeah, good to see. Good other transfer on the marketplace this week. Changing hands, a club. I think how Dirk. I just want to spend 20 seconds on it. Maybe Jimbo, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, and then
he's
we quickly move on.
He plays meh, and he does meh.
Yes.
End of.
Yeah.
End of.
And end of segment. Dirk is it's not worth our time. No goals, no assists. 5 games, yeah.
Puts in a solid 5 out of 10 each week, no more, no less.
Yeah, exactly. So let's move on to why Dirk. More fun.
Much more fun.
We have a couple of questions. For example, for Duff, when England?
Mm-hmm. Well, I do have I have an open row, which is always risky on the mobile. So I have an uneven number of teams. I actually had sent someone a message through the MP or through Discord about a club that is not England that I was trying to get. It's a stone club. Listed pretty high for a stone club. There's probably a ceiling on what I'm willing to pay, but have not heard back. And then England, I don't have a club in England amongst my roster. Nothing really jumps out to me. I don't have a really good concept. There was one in Bristol that was located there, and I was into, I guess I still am, into like bands like Massive Attack. They've got a big footprint there in Bristol, that kind of like trip hop scene. So maybe I could come up with lights around that. I don't know, but there's also not really a lot of great value, I think, on the England side. But that would probably be one that before we go live, if we're going to do things like having location-based tournaments. I do have a club in Dublin, so maybe that would sneak me in. But yeah, no England just yet. Kind of picking my spot, and I'm also waiting for this other Stone Club to
Okay.
come down
So
if
it's
it does at all.
pipeline, let's say. And then for Jimbo, your Lamb Web 3 wants you to pronounce a name.
Yeah,
Of a
it's
special
asking to
club.
pronounce this name, which I think is it's 2 words, and there's probably about 14 letters in each word. So it's I really don't know. The first 2 letters are Y and C. No idea how that is pronounced. I probably should have looked at where this club was, maybe what region or country to help me with the pronunciation. But it's like I can't even attempt this. Like maybe the Y is silent, so I just go like Cumandiu Cordilidad. The second bit I can do. I think that sounds quite Chilean, Cordilidad, or like South American. But the first bit, I've got no Scooby on how to pronounce it.
Yeah,
So
maybe the Y is silent.
Waikimandiu Cordilidad. Cordialidad.
Cordialidad, it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, if you, like,
yeah.
it sounds like cordial dad. Like
the cordial dad. Yeah.
Cordial dad, yeah.
But a very interesting club indeed. The Comandiu Cordialidad. All right. Well, you gave it your best shot, Jimbo. So good job.
That's all I can do these days, mate.
Yes, exactly. I think Duff, you already answered in the chat about something I don't know about Jalen Brown something and dunk contest.
His horrendous attempts at the dunk contest in the All-Stars.
Yeah, as European ignorant about basketball.
I just saw some like clip of like him doing like a no-look dunk, and it was horrendous. Or practicing his no-look dunk for the I don't know if he did it in the actual one, but he's just, from what I've heard, he's not a dunk competitor.
Yeah, he's an okay in-game dunker.
Sounds like Dirk.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's not really. There's a performance aspect to it. He plays for a team, the Boston Celtics, and the guy they had an old player named D Brown who had a quote-unquote no-look dunk where he kind of hit his eyes and his elbow. It was a little corny then, and he was trying to do it, and it didn't quite pull off. I mean, the main thing is that a lot of the superstars, Michael Jordan used to be in the dunk contest, Vince Carter, the people that non-NBA fans would know were in it, and there's a lot of risk for being a star. And he's not a superstar. He's more of like the second best guy on a team, or maybe the third best guy on the best team. And the risk is that these guys who are in that position can they can become a meme, or they can get made fun of. But no one even who played in the All-Star game had been in the dunk contest in almost 5 or 6 years. So hopefully, him being out there and taking some grief will just encourage other stars to do it next year. And see how they can do, because the people that they have in the dunk contest, a lot of them are great dunkers, but it's kind of like a trick, and they're not going to be people who are going to see meaningful time. So in an actual competitive basketball game for the most part. So getting the bigger stars in there is useful, and if it takes Jalen Brown some grief to be the first domino, hopefully more people do it next year. But yeah,
so
people who care a lot about the dunk contest were pretty upset about it.
So if they did the equivalent of the World Cup, it'd be like asking Harry Maguire to do like a bicycle kick competition, or like just get defenders to do it. Like someone who probably could do it in a game, but you wouldn't want to see actually doing it on a competition for a bit of fun level. But
yeah, especially the bicycle kick. Even Harry Kane whiffed on one over the weekend, but he finally, of course, was a hero at the end of the game. But he gave a pretty tough bicycle kick attempt the other day.
Yeah, right. Well, Duff, it now comes to the part of Why Dirk where you've probably heard it numerous times. You've probably shouted at your phone or your headphones, wherever you are, when you've heard people's answers to this, maybe including mine. It's the top 3 chocolate / candy. But if you are aware, we have a different format where we're not asking for your top 3. We have a top 3 from our listeners, and you get to replace one of the top 3 with one of your suggestions. So I will just remind you of said top 3. In third, we have Snickers. In second place, we have Fancy Gaffers, something along the lines of hand dipped salted caramel chocolate bites, or something along those lines. It's some hand dipped salted caramel piece. Yeah, it's got like at least like 8 letters, 8 words in what this chocolate type actually is. And then at top we've got Kinder Delish, bit of Kinder in there. Which chocolate would you like to replace with one of your own?
It's tough. This is a way to make enemies. I will probably replace fantasy gaffers because I think that is served in classier establishments than would even let me in. Like you need to get like a jacket and have the right kind of shoes to get that served at a restaurant. I'll probably have to replace that one.
Yeah.
Okay, with what? What will
What
you
were we
replace?
replacing it with?
Well, the trick is that I'm actually lactose intolerant, so I can't do milk chocolate. I usually do like the dark chocolate and like the really bitter kind that you have one square and it dries your mouth out for an hour
Oh, nice.
then you vibe off that for a while. Um, Skittles, usually if I do, I'll do like candy, like Skittles or something like that if I want the jam sugar and
Ooh,
tea for
okay.
my dentist. Probably too chaotic to enter that in there. Um,
Yeah, it's really a curveball if you suggested that. We're gonna put that in there.
But I
I'll
like
go
the
peanut butter
dark
Twix.
chocolate. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, I
peanut
mean
butter.
dark
Twix.
chocolate. There's a broad range, but yeah, I don't have really a go-to dark chocolate, or at least one that like we get the kind at the natural food store, and a bar is like $4, and not great. Certainly not the value that you find in the marketplace for NFL.
Yeah.
Uh,
So we're
I'll go
going with
peanut butter Twix.
Twix. So we got
Okay.
peanut butter
Yeah,
Twix.
peanut butter Twix. Yeah.
Oh,
Good.
okay. Nice,
Okay.
good choice. That slots in at number 2 then. So our next guest, they'll be asked that top 3 and they'll have to replace one. Just finally, before we do move on to meeting you in a bit more detail, your top vegetable, and I'll also ask you really quickly, how many methods can you cook that vegetable in, do you reckon?
Yeah, I don't think I can beat 50, but we haven't had a lot of respect for the squash family, and
It's
I'm
because it's a sport,
one of the
mate.
things that actually grow pretty well. Winter squash, like we call them butternut squash. They're like kind of
Yeah,
hard. It's
yeah,
almost
yeah.
like a sweet potato. You can do a lot with that. I mean, that's
Like
probably that's
a weird looking pumpkin fella. Yeah, that guy.
yeah, but it's like more like of a rectangle instead of the circle. You can
Yeah,
do it curry. You can roast it. You can do them sweet. Put it in a chili. So I think we
versatile.
should put them. Yeah, versatile, delicious, and just root vegetables in general. Like we need to just put some respect on the vegetables. Just
So we'll
roast them
put
up. They're
squash, butternut squash, winter squash, and just out of your head, how many times do you reckon you could cook that? 10, maybe?
I think I would start just making stuff after. Yeah. Ten's probably.
Okay, 10 methods of cooking. So if someone would like to ask Duff in the Discord to name all those 10, then be my
So
guest.
this will
Thank you very
all
much.
go to
Yeah,
the Wenderk
I'll get
Wender
right back to you.
cookbook, the Wender Cook Show, soon to be released by us. All right, we
With
with
the apple
exact, but
crumble
that's
recipe leading up to that.
the main
Whoa,
recipe
yeah.
in there. Yeah.
Well, contraband.
So
Maybe that's on the Patreon. That's how you get the sign-ups for the Wenderk Plus.
When we monetize the
crowdfund
podcast, be the first
crowdfund this
thing.
book, I guess. All right, so the main segment. Well, we already talked about 40 minutes with updates, but that's great because it's also good content, of course, and we like to talk. So now, Meet the Moguls. You already introduced yourself in episode 9, but could you do a little bit of a recap, Duff? Like, quickly, what's your MFL story, and maybe also some MFL highlights, or like, what's your highlights so far? So, short summary of your career.
Yeah, I think that's probably not the most interesting part, so I'll just make it as quick as I can. Where like a lot of folks, I got into Top Shot. I was into card collecting, but the NFT and the Top Shot moment space made a lot of sense to me, both just in terms of how digital collectible works, and then also if you want to trade or sell, you don't have to deal with things like condition and eBay fees and all other stuff. And like a lot of folks, I got that email, a number of projects that were part of the Dagger ecosystem. Some of them I probably wish I had ignored, but the big one was, of course, MFL. I got drawn in by the art, started going to the marketplace, signed up with the Discord. Really only started using Discord for to talk about MFL and to use the match spot from back in the day when that was the only way we could use our players. Shout out to Dr. Matchbot Kevin. And then from that, just kind of grew. Instead of going to the store and getting cards, I mean, also like I'm a dad, so I would go to Target, and we were from home, so it wasn't really like I wasn't going out. So the money that I would have spent doing fun things when I had two little kids, I just started going into the MP and buying players that I liked. And I've seen the market kind of fluctuate a little bit. It's hotter now than it was, but it's also it's cooled off, and there's been better times to buy. So I've mostly just been buying and not doing a lot of selling, and I have acquired a rather huge agency with on about 17 clubs as well at this point, and I really like it. Love the community, love the vibe, really like the product, and I am actually learning more about the sport through interacting with the product as well, which I think is going to be a journey that other people who are in similar positions, maybe they really like sport simulation games, or actual sports action games, but they're familiar with that whole draft and develop and brand your club. I think there's a natural sell there, even if people aren't as into the sport of, let's say, international football as they are into.
Yeah. Okay, super. So, what we've got up next is sort of asking a bit about season 0.4 and how you found that. Sort of some of the features. I guess the big ones are, or is really, positional familiarity and the team instructions. How's that been treating you in your abundance of clubs, we'll call it?
Yeah, it's a learning journey. It is. I've tried. So one of the things that we had to do, and one of the things I'd recommend anybody doing, is make sure that you've got the right players in the right place for your formation. So I did have to refactor a number of my teams going into the season to make sure that I wasn't doing things like starting a wing as a striker or starting a right mid as a center mid for the formations that needed that. So there was a big effort for that, and what I tried to do was for each team go through the formations and figure out which couple of formations I think I could use. Primary formation, and then either one with a sub or one if I didn't think that there was a good formational matchup in. I try to narrow it down based on things like, do I intend on running a back line that had 3 or 4, or there's kind of a decision point of if you're going to use wings or not. So that was a big exercise for it. It's been a little bit of a mixed bag. Most of my teams, I usually on my Twitter, I will publish kind of the updates. I try to be as transparent as possible with what's their overall, where they're standings, and we're mostly in the top half of the table, a number of close contention. I think there's some things I have a handle on, and some of them I don't. Like Calvinator, I am trying to get my wingbacks to work. I have a few clubs that are running a back line of 5. And I also made a big move before this season because I did a trade with Scrub. I had a legendary left wing back, and we had been talking about he was trying to acquire that guy from me. And just in the course of the conversation, we kind of flipped it. I was like, well, what if I get your legendary right wing back instead in a trade? So I traded a guy who's actually my highest rated player. I had pulled him out of a pack. He was 90 rated CB, and easily my highest player. I traded him for an 87 and right wing back, and another rare with some potential. And I was thinking like, all right, well, this is I'm going to be the one who zigs when others zag, and I'm going to run this 5-man back line. And in my testing ahead of time, it was really just I wasn't giving up a lot of goals, but I wasn't scoring either. And I don't think I got the right team instructions for that, so I kind of chickened out and tried some other formations with my main platinum club. But I would say as that club falls out of contention, I'll probably look to learn more about that and trying to get ahead of it. I also think I'm getting as much out of my cams as I'd like, and that's a little bit of a challenge. Although I'm having some success with 4-3-1-2, and I thought that the diamond formation would be better. I think a lot of people are excited, and I'm having a hard time with that as well. So I want to use the instructions to see if I can get more out of that, because I like the idea of starting a CDM and a cam, but it's not really working that great. So I think there's a lot of pieces to that were put in place. Some of them I think have a better hang.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, like we talked about it, like there's so many variables now. We have way more formations. You have these 11 team instructions, and then you also have the captain bonus that can affect things. Plus, that's positional familiarity, and especially for you with like 17 clubs, like sending people everywhere to have like the best rosters for each of your clubs. So that's a lot to change up, and then for season 0.4 to see what kind of result it will bring. But you're also doing this, like doing a lot of testing and trying to be consistent first, and then making small twitches, let's say, or any approach you have for that, for testing stuff.
Yeah, it actually makes it a little challenging with the tournament going on because at least at the top clubs, it's hard to run friendlies against each other. I had been running a lot of friendlies because against equivalent teams. Like for me, uh, BFC Manchester is in a different platinum league, so I would run, or we would both run a lot of friendlies against each other, and then I would also run a bunch against Ronan. Usually, I would be benchmarking against my team's performance, and not trying to beat him necessarily, but just seeing what made things better or worse. But with everybody in the Elite Cup, it's a little, or the Titans Cup, it's a little locked down. So it makes it a little hard because what I would try to do with testing is let's let's run 5 of the same match against each other and then compare, and then somebody will switch their settings and see how that works. It's not perfect, but it gives you a little bit of sense of things. It, it is. I think it's a little challenging because there's not a ton of visibility into what your opponent is doing. Unless you've got like a relationship with them and you can compare notes. And I think that since we're in an alpha, I wish it was a little more transparent as we're all trying to figure out the engine and we're also trying to work with the team to help fine tune things. And I think there are some things that, maybe there are instructions that you wouldn't know. But I think based on the team instructions that we have, you would know by either watching a game or playing a game if someone was, pressing you high, what their line was like, if they were routing it through their attack through one side of the field or another. And I wish there was like a little bit of an aftermath report or just showing you what the other team's settings were. Um, so you could compare, well, if I do this, how does it change what the other person's doing? Um, I do think some of that is giving your own secret sauce away, but others is, well, we saw based on where they were, how they were playing, what their instructions were. I actually just watched there was a recap after the Barcelona game, and they interviewed one of the players, and they were saying, well, we were able to, they're pressing us so high, we were able to just kick the ball ahead and score. And, the players know how they're being played. So I think having some of that information that's currently hidden to us, at least it's hidden to us before we have the all 22, that would help figure out, how the team instructions play out and how they
I've
work.
I've got a bit of an ultimatum for you then. I'm taking this idea sort of from the mobile fantasy game called Top 11, where it's like you can play friendlies between games, but they fatigue your squad. So you can't just go so say in the future with the full game, we have that transparency little match reports. Would you be happy with that? But you can't run friendlies like willy nilly when you wanted to. Because part of me thinks in the future, I don't want some. I quite like being able to change things after each game and respond and react to that. And obviously during alpha season, lots can change, etc. But say when the game is fully finished, or so developed to a point where we've got relegation, promotion, player progression, 2D or visuals, that sort of thing. I would like to have it so you can't just run friendlies whenever you want.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting conversation around friendlies. Personally, I don't care if people friendly against my team because I get information too. I wish we all just had a complete set of information, but I wish there was. I know others, like Wilbur is one that has expressed thoughts otherwise, and that's fine. I wish there was just a setting saying, make me visible for friendlies or not, and I think that would solve a lot of problems. I mean, because realistically, if we were in, if we had non-metaverse teams and we had a range of friendly, we would share information and we would agree to meet up at a place to hold the match and all that. There's a lot of mutuality that happens to make that. Um, so I think what I personally would really like to have is the ability to set up my own scrimmages, um, where it would even if it was like a computer team, and let me just pick their settings, and I could run 10 or 15 simulations against it, or just you know scrimmage against a CPU or other players, even if it's my own team, cut it in half. Um, have the ability to do that, and I don't even have to worry about the other person. I think that would be a good way to learn as well. How realistic that is, I don't know. But I agree. Once we are in production, then there's a little bit more that can be, there's a little bit maybe more gamesmanship that can be with not being part of friendlies or not being able to run unlimited ones, what have you. Um, but we're not quite there yet. We're still in alpha and we're still all learning. Some of the stuff is going to get changed, probably a little bit. Other might be a lot. And I think while we're all learning, it makes sense to
Yeah,
be a little bit more cards in.
fair enough. I think that's a good point there to yeah. Also for us for more testing and feedback and to provide that, etc. So for the game, we have. I think we can maybe combine some questions. I don't know if you agree, Jimbo, about signing players. So fantasy Gaffer's question. So we always ask, right, our last guest to ask the next guest something. And he asked about how do you recruit new players, and we can combine it with our question about like what's your strategy to buy and sell players, and also Lem. Oh no, that's the other one. Lem freeze next after this, but maybe about recruiting players. So how do you do that? Like, what's your strategy to get new players for your teams? How do you look at marketplace?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if his question. Yeah, I wasn't sure if his question was new players for the team or new players to MFL as a whole. So I could do both. But I would say, just to get new people into the game, I try to basically be as welcoming and open as I can. I try to post a lot of stuff on Twitter. There's kind of shows what I'm doing and try to be welcoming, try to be funny with memes. And some of them work, some of them don't. I'm a dad, so all my jokes are dad jokes. Um, and trying to be as pro information as possible. I think generally people try to have power either by holding information from others or by sharing it, and I try to err on the side of sharing it, especially in a community like this. Um, Even though, and also like I try to keep my complaining down to a minimum in chat. Doesn't always happen, but try to be a little bit more reasonable when things come up. I do tend to see weird stuff because I'm seeing like 17, 18 games a day. So, I'm not putting in a ticket for everything, but if something does come up, I want to just, flag it for the team. Um, and also like trying just generally not to lose my mind when I lose. It, you know, to mixed success. But in terms of recruiting players, like actual signing players to my team, I like. There's actually not. Well, I'll take it back. I like some of what I'm seeing with uncommon prices on the market right now. I think that's good for coming down. At least some of them coming down for newer people. There are parts of the market that I did like a couple weeks ago, which would be players who, using Ali's tool, or I got my own spreadsheet, who with a point or two of development here could make a big jump. There is, I think, a pretty soft spot for guys who are like in the 82, 83 range, but if you added 5 points to their main stat, they could become Lego pretty easily. I mean, we don't know how promotion is going to work, but there are some educated guesses that you could make there. Um, and as we've seen, when a player goes from blue to purple, there's a jump, sometimes as much as $100. So I've liked players who I think have that um, chance to increase their tier of rarity. I also do look for overall stats, uh, even though we've seen in the formula that certain stats aren't looked at for different positions. I don't think having high pace is ever a bad thing. Things that I like seeing guys who have maybe abnormally high defense, especially on like I want my mids to have good defense, even if it's not highly weighted for their position. I just don't like having bad defense anywhere. I figure pace, defense, physical are always good stats to look at. Um, because I think there's going to be a difference too when we do see promotion, especially using an example of CBs. You can get a pretty high rating using having a defense as a spike stat. Um, maybe a guy has a defense already that's like 83 or something like that. But the type of Lego he becomes is going to change based on the underlying stats. Like I want a defender. If I'm looking at that, if I'm looking at a ceiling, um, or if I'm looking like I want a Lego ceiling out of that player, I want him to be able to pass and dribble, and not just be my cap is as an 85 player because I've got a 93 defense, but my speed is 30. I mean, if you can get that guy cheap, that's great. but that's not someone I want to make a big investment on. So I do look at overall stats and age, of course, as well.
Yeah, so you're really on the marketplace, like setting all those parameters for to have a good, let's say, base for pace and physical, and not just have. Yeah, I really see a lot of those CBs who have like crazy high defense, but then super low physical, super low pace, or yeah, like a winger with like crazy high dribbling, but the rest is bad. So to avoid buying those players, so just proper research, let's say, looking at what you want.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to the position. I mean, I am, I guess, either fortunate or unfortunate, depending on how you think. Is that I usually have a player just about anybody I can see in the market. So if I do see one of those winger or one of those CBs, or increasingly even center mids, because you need to run three of them in certain formations, and he might be around 35, $40, and maybe his stats aren't great, or maybe he's 24, 25, but I think it might be a useful rotation player. That's someone I could find a place for if I do see a value. But I did actually think, I also have probably enough players at this point that I'm not actively looking for a lot. But I think the point that Gaffer made in the last podcast about trying to leave some bargains for other folks who might be newer, I think that's well taken as well. Where we don't need to grab every player that comes across unless there is a plan for how that person's going to help a team.
Yeah, not fantasy gaffer pointing out the nice price players, and then Calvin at just going, oh, whoops, I just bought him.
Sniping it quickly. Yes, I'll loan him out again for a low fee. But I was looking for a guy. He's playing now for Calva Junior, so he's being useful to me. That's good. But yeah, I agree. It's nice to leave some for everyone. Actually, the uncommon market was like pretty pumping lately with the Flovitar crew coming in and buying some there. But yes, I agree. I think we were both on the same page in terms of like recruiting players and really seeing it more holistic with like all of those stats and everything included. Let's say. What about your question for the next guest? Since you answered Fantasy Gaffer's question, do you think about it?
Yes, I do have. I have two potentially. I've got one is, and I think I did this the last time too. Um, what are ideas they have for this club or for the team to be able to generate revenue that isn't just pack drops? I think this is a concern. I mean, not a concern with a capital C, where people are afraid, but it's a point of interest where we want the team to be well funded so they can figure out that they continue to make their money and keep the game alive and get rewarded for what they do. Everybody wants them to succeed. Pack drops are the number one way that we've seen of revenue. What are things that they have, or even things they would consider buying, that aren't just players related. If they have a pack drop, I'm probably going to be there. But what other ways might someone have of giving the team their money? I actually think it would be great personally to be able to have like your own little data analytics piece, like what Juan Carlos runs with his different simulations. Tracking some of this stuff by hand is a pain. I've recently been tracking how I've been doing against XG, and also I'm trying to do formations as I get a handle on the new formations, which hard enough for one club. Doing it for a number is really a challenge and kind of hit diminishing returns. So that's something where if there is like an analytics subscription, I think that would be really cool, and people would be into it, at least in the high end. But certainly interested, just cosmetics. There's other things that I've heard a lot of interesting conversation about. So I think that's a great one to ask folks.
Okay, so how to generate revenue?
We could say also the other thought I had, and maybe this is even one to ask in the beginning about people's journey. Has there been an athlete or a sports team that they connected with in their life, and what does that connection mean to them? I think is a kind of a cool question. Everybody has a connection to sport.
Nice
and kind of brings us here.
A thought, not a thought, a something I wanted to mention, which I saw actually. Duff, you just reminded it then by talking about the team, the MFL team, was that I was on LinkedIn the other day, you know, the boring corporate social media platform that is LinkedIn, and I saw that MFL 2 days ago posted they're hiring a senior growth marketing manager. So,
Ooh,
you know,
nice.
so you know, a little bit of alpha there dropping in from the world of LinkedIn. I dropped them a like, even though my network probably has nothing to do with social media
I
or
like,
senior
Jimbo,
growth in marketing.
how dedicated you are to the podcast. You're just on LinkedIn tracking
Yeah,
down
I'm on
MFL.
LinkedIn. Yeah,
Yes,
I saw
that's dedication.
it got posted, and I thought, you know what, I'll give that a like. See if any of my people in the map creation world fancy a change in career to senior growth marketing manager. So maybe that's got, you know, what does that entail for the future? But you know, quite nice.
Yeah, that's a positive side.
You should make sure to add your referral link too.
I was going to say either referral link, or if someone from podcast applies for that and gets it, I at least want some sort of like referral bonus. Maybe like a couple of legendary packs, maybe, or something, you know, to connect it through James. I'll talk about referral links really quickly. I want to shout out to Dane, who actually sent my referral link to someone else in the general chat who was asking for a referral link, which I thought was really, really nice. That was a user called Louis Court, who has yet to purchase anything yet, but I think that's still wonderful that Dane shared it. But on other news, they rewarded me for the Eclipse one. So, and I don't think it's because he purchased it. I think just out of kind-heartedness, I woke up to an inbox where they've got a common player, and I'll announce it here. I got a 53 rated CDM/right mid. So, you know, not the worst, but not the best. But my girlfriend still enjoyed it regardless with a pack opening experience. So my heartfelt thanks to the MFL team, if that was a manual acceptance, because I think we can all agree that Eclipse, since it's come in, has been pretty active with purchasing you know, the club from Jamie and all the players from it. So, you know, I wasn't expecting it, but greatly appreciate it. So thank you, MFL team.
Well, you definitely deserve that, like that terms of
Thanks, mate. Thanks, mate.
Activity and value.
He asked me a couple of questions in the DMs as well. I'm always happy to answer them. So that's an open ask to anyone out there, not just myself, but everyone on this call right now and everyone else in the NFL community. Feel free to just pop DMs to people because we're all super helpful and we want to help other users out and get better at the game as long as you're not playing us.
Yes, and share our episode, our last episode.
Exactly.
Info about that. All right, let's finish up with the
dilemmas.
The Dirk dilemma. Well, I thought we can recycle one I liked, and Duff, you're a very active member of the community, and you're a lot in Discord, so you also know kind of some other users. So let's talk about your own club, and you can hire people to help you run this club, football club, or Metaverse football club. So, for example, for the director of Metaverse Football, who would you hire from the community?
So director, man, I think I'd probably go with the Fantasy Gaffer. I mean, the guy's got his own newsletter. It's pretty strong. Although I will say, you know what, I'm not going to sell. Well, I actually, you know, we'll pencil Gaffer in there. I have someone else might come up, so we'll pencil him in there.
Okay, so Gaffer. Okay. So, what about, let's say, the manager? If you have to appoint someone else to manage your teams or your team, who would you hire for this position?
I'll say Dane because he does such a great job with the BFC team.
Up the date.
So
Up the date.
Dane for the. Dane will be the manager.
He's gonna get mad I said that because they're scuffling, but yeah, but the season's still young.
Okay, great. So Dane is manager, and what about head scout? Who do you think does well, looking for talent, or has an eye for that on the marketplace?
You know, it's funny because there's a couple other managers, and I think we target similar players, and then they'll pull some in the marketplace, and like, oh man, I wish I got to that one first. And I think Wilbert Pohl makes a lot of good choices. Bucks, or Bill from Bucks also makes some good choices. But yeah, we'll throw Wilbert.
If I had $1 for every single time someone put in the Discord after someone purchased a player, they go, "Oh, good pickup. I was looking at him." If I get a quid for every time someone said, "Oh, I was looking at buying him," I think I'd be a millionaire. I love it. I find it so funny when someone purchases a player and someone puts in the chat, "Oh, I was looking at him. I was really close to picking him up." I was like, "Well, you weren't because someone else did." I always find that funny.
That's definitely I was hoping they would drop $5 more and now I regret it type of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. It's basically
Yeah.
like a passive aggressive way of saying like, oh, congrats on the pickup, but I'm really angry you bought him because I wanted him.
Yeah. Wish nothing but the best. Yeah.
Final position. Well, we could have more positions, but let's say final one is the mascot. Who would be the mascot?
And you have to say like what the outfit would probably be as well, and the name maybe if you can get that.
Or maybe the outfit, and who was in the suit.
So I did have B Sellers is my marketing guy because he's out there always hustling.
Okay, marketing. Okay, we can add the position. B sellers marketing.
But Taggart has to be the mascot, and I would like him to be a giant walking leaf pile.
What a shout. I do love that gif. For those who don't know the reference to this, there's a gif of Taggart where he rolls above this leaf, this pile of leaves that says good morning, and it's actually a brilliant gif, and it's one that I think I should upload to Tenor so we can actually have it as an official use case in it, and then we could track its usage. It's a very good gif. So just a massive, like one big leaf with loads around him, or just one massive leaf?
Oh, I think it would have to be an assortment of leaves so he could do like a roll as the pile and then stand up.
Okay, so his like walkout is him just sort of multiple roly-polies out to the pitch and then just jumps up. That's sort of like how he enters and shows himself at the beginning of games to the crowd. He just rolls around, doesn't walk everywhere, he just rolls around everywhere around the pitch. Okay,
it's either that or you have people in front of them, you know, how like they would throw like rose petals or something in front of them, but just with leaves.
Okay.
Giving him a path to walk.
Maybe this could be the Jimbo. This could be the hashtag. Maybe rolling in leaves. Hashtag rolling in leaves. Something like that.
Yeah, let's do that then. Yeah, hashtag. If you're listening to this point, which I know a lot of you are, and for those of you who put hashtag Happy Birthday Jimbo, I appreciate you, and I will get round to sending you your common players. I've just been really busy this week and ill, and I will send you your common player. I think Big Will was the first one. He's keen for a common player. But if you're listening this far, hashtag. What did we say it was? Hashtag
rolling in leaves. No?
Hashtag rolling in leaves. There you go. Pop that in the Discord general. Let us know that you've got this far, because I love to see it. All of you each week posting you've got this far towards the end of the podcast. But on that note, just to close it up there, Duff, have you got a nickname for that mascot, or we just calling him Leaf Man?
Yeah, I think Leafy's pretty good.
Okay, Leafy. Awesome. Well, I think this is probably quite a nice point to close at. Duff, have you got anything you want to shout out, showcase, publicise to the MFL podcast listeners?
I think we are a Apollo 11 Collect on Twitter. Once you sign up for that one handle, it becomes part of the change. And if you want to follow along how we're doing, we're also in the Discord. I'm happy to answer any questions that people have. You know, we're all trying to learn together, and so I'm happy to kind of put my cards on the table. Follow the When Dirt Cast, and also I will say that as frustrated as we all get at times by XG, if you track your XG, you will find out that if you're winning an XG, you're going to win more games than you lose, and sometimes you get a little bit unlucky, but don't just focus on the times where you have higher XG and you lose, as that is a frustrating sickness that is spreading through the Discord, and it's not that bad.
Yeah, rumor does have it if you follow the When Dirt Cast, or at least listen to each episode each week, you do get slightly higher XG. I can provide evidence for that in next week's episode. Other than that, thank you all so very much for listening, and we'll see you this time next week for another episode of the When Dirt Cast. Thank you for listening.